The Your Voice in Power Hour on the My Voice in Power show for Unity Live Radio. Hello and welcome to the Your Voice in Power Hour. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thanks. Can you tell us your name and a bit about yourself, please?
Name is Roddy Slater, and I am a Canadian Lucian Scot who is involved in athletics coaching and involved and runs Raw Mentoring, which is a business that supports young people who are struggling in education.
Lovely. What is it that made you want to become a mentor?
Probably along the lines of I'd always been coaching. I've coached as a personal trainer for years. So as a personal trainer, you are mentoring the people that you're working with one-to-one. So that was where I got into it initially from a young age. I was probably PTing since 18 years old. But more recently, I worked in education at Cranberry College from 2007 when the financial crash came, 2007, 2008, and worked as a sports for them, which involved supporting the kids' behaviors within the classroom, which involved putting on sporting activities for them, but ended up becoming a bit of a security job and just dealing with removing kids from classes or dealing with the behavior of kids within the class. And I think I found it a little bit frustrating. So decided to go my own way, set up my own mentoring business to kind of give kids a different voice and a different outlet, which wasn't associated to their education, but could support their education, and then guide them along the path that they either choose to go or the path which is better for them from what they actually want to achieve in life. And in some cases, they don't even know yet. So, yeah, so it was really then just to help them and guide them through their education, but to give them that support on the outside as well.
So you said this started when you was being a personal trainer. How did that become like the crossover? Because obviously personal training, you think that's just preparing people's diets, teaching them how to train.
So so in my latter years as a personal trainer, I started to do like mini seminars or talks on what personal training actually is. And the filtered version of personal training is how you've described it. Like you do diet plans, you train somebody to meet a goal, and that's it.
Yeah.
The reality of personal training is far from that. So as a good personal trainer, and that's not a reflection on any that are out there. You know who you are if you are, and you recognize if you're not. But as a good personal trainer, it's not just about teaching them how to squat properly, teaching them how to eat properly. What you're doing is you're guiding somebody through a journey with you on their life. So they're investing their time and money to meet a specific goal, but in order to meet that goal, they need guidance, and the guidance is normally outside of the gym environment, because them going to the gym environment has never been the issue. Them going and eating for the 6 weeks that they need to eat is not the issue. It's what they're doing outside of that. It's their sleeping patterns. It's their lifestyle choices. It's their work environment. It's the stress physically and mentally that they're putting on their body outside of the hour that they're with you in a week, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. So what you then start to understand as a personal trainer is you can start to influence those aspects of their life, and you'll get better results to achieve their targets when they start to look at the whole package. So a word that is used a lot within the environment, and I think it's used too much, is holistic. So you take a holistic approach, and in reality, yes, you do, but a lot of people in my opinion, don't understand what that means. And it is looking at every aspect of that individual's life and taking that whole approach to trying to achieve the goal. And most of the time is just for a better life. That's what it comes down to. That's like, yeah, they want to put on weight, lose weight, meet this target, meet that target, but there's a reason, because it makes them feel good. It makes them wake up in the morning. It makes them achieve a target that they've always wanted to achieve. And you learn fast as a positive PT that you're changing their life. You're not doing an hour's session over and over again.
Okay, so this seems like now mentoring is like an interchangeable thing, because as you know, I've worked in the education field myself for a small amount of time, but I feel like that you can easily relate and transfer this to working with children in the school environment, and how really schools, and I don't know if they ever have done or not, but I don't believe that they take on a holistic approach, even now that they're saying that that's what they're trying to do. What's your opinion on
I think I'm going to be PC now, yeah.
that?
I'll keep it real with this. Look, the education environment has changed from when I was younger, and is a very different product now. And my opinion is it's a product now, and that's the biggest difference. I believe that the aim of all teachers, all educators, was always to make a difference, is always to make a difference, is always to try and treat every child as an individual and try and maximize the potential of each and every child within their classroom environment. And I still think to this day, deep down, that is what every educator's desire is. The educator, the actual person in the classroom environment. Where I say it's a product now, I believe that in more recent years, and that might be 10, 20, depending what recent is to each person, in more recent years, that has changed to numbers. And every child is a stat, and that stat reaches my targets, and that target reaches my Ofsted, and that target reaches my trustee holders or whoever, and we're either a success through our stats or we're not. And I think that's where it's become a product. And that's where I think, as an educator, you look at 30 children within your classroom environment, and as much as you may feel you want to differentiate each part of your lesson to each child within that classroom, you'll be accounted on the stats that you have to produce from that class. So 30 becomes a stat as opposed to 30 becoming individuals. And I don't know if that's answered what you've asked, but I believe we're more in a statistical based situation now, as opposed to preparing young people for society, preparing young people for their adulthood, preparing them to deal with their emotions, and to deal with the relationships that they have around them, be it with their peers, be it with staff, be it with adults.
Yeah, but it sounds, from your description, and this is not what you have implied, this is my perception, it just sounds like prison. Everyone's a number. Yeah.
And I would say, look, our business benefits from the support of these schools. I'm not going to deny that. So, and we're there as a service to support these schools. So part of me feels that they're beyond, they're not a number when they're invoking our support.
Yeah.
because that's showing they are trying to make a difference. The school is trying to see how we can get the best out of this young person. So therefore, let's try and use this service to get the best out of this young person.
But do you feel
However,
sorry,
that's not every case.
but do you feel like sometimes schools leave it too late to make sure that these children are getting what they need from services like yours?
I think there's two ways to look at that. I think way one is you will try and give the young person as many opportunities to succeed within the environment without intervention. Whether that's right or wrong, they will try. They will try and put things in place on their own. I also think the impact of COVID has a big part to play in that.
Mm-hmm.
And where pre-COVID, you might have 3 to 5 young people in your class that are struggling or are struggling emotionally and aren't able to support. Whereas now I think you have 15 to 18 in your class.
Yeah.
And therefore the reality is you don't know who to refer, who to start with, how to get things going. So sometimes, yeah, too much. Sorry, I've got my dog barking.
So basically this boils down a lot to mental health, and obviously the school is not obviously a mental health environment as such. Not to say they're not there to help to nurture the children, but that's not obviously that's not their priority, I suppose. They're there to educate, and then the mental health side of things, I guess, is where you come in.
Yeah, potentially. I'd say they've I think their roles changed in that. I think their aim is to support the mental health. Their aim is to nurture the young people. It's just the focus seems to be a bit more on the education stats side of things. I think they do have a responsibility to nurture. I think they do have a responsibility to take into account the mental health of these young people and how they interact with that. But tied in with what I said before is, I think the impact of COVID on teaching staff as well has had a big effect on delivery and how they cope with a classroom environment, how they cope with 30 kids in which 2, 3, 4 are not engaging to what they're trying to deliver. I think from our perspective, yeah, ours is very much based along the mental health and emotional side for these young people. Ours is to give them an outlet. What you found with, and I'm sorry, I keep on going on about COVID, but you take people out of education for 2 years, out of a social environment for 2 years, and it has a major effect. And I will argue with anybody that tells me different. I work in it every day. I see it every day, and in a positive way, but a sad way, my business has benefited from that. I'm not going to deny that. But it's benefited in the sense of a 300 to 500% increase. Now that tells you that there's an issue. And I think what we've got to do is get that understanding of everybody's responsibility of the mental health and the emotional well-being of these young people. It's all very well us talking about young people, what they do on social media, how they behave, etc., etc., etc. There was a 2-year period where the expectation of a household was that education, nurturing, and everything was done at school, and that's the school's responsibility. And then when they come home, they have mummy and daddy time, or mummy time, or daddy time, or carer time, or guardian time. However, for that 2-year period, there was no escape. So the nurture, the mental health support, the education, and everything else was then put on the parent, or the carer or guardian. And I think that for some parents was very eye-opening. That for some parents was like, oh my goodness, I have to work, I have to do this, I have to do that. How am I meant to do this for you? And that was a difficult experience. And if time, lifestyle, job didn't allow you to structure your child's day in the way that it would be at school, there became issues, there became problems. And I find it funny, I always find it funny around this time of year when parents complain about the 6 weeks that teachers get off, and they get so much time off and they have all these breaks and all these holidays. As a parent, we saw what it was like for 1.5 to 2 years. We wanted a break every day. We wanted that escape every day. And now we want to begrudge people 6 weeks off when they have to deal with everything that we're throwing at them. And do you know what I mean? So I think if anything, the COVID experience gave parents an insight into what schooling has to deal with, but it also put the responsibility at home. But it made them aware of how much of an impact all of this has on the emotional well-being and the mental health of these young people. And they are in a very different state now than they were 2019.
I think anyone who thinks like that needs to go and volunteer in a school, even if it's for a short amount of time, because you don't know what's going on the inside. And, you know, I explain this to my boys a lot as well. You know, teachers are humans as well. The forepoint of their job is to come in and educate you, but to be there for you. They might not always know how to do it in the best way for you, but that is mainly the reason why most teachers are teachers. But like, so things like, you know, the 6 weeks holidays. So the first week, which is the start of the holidays for us, the teachers are finishing up things that have gone on from the end of the term. Then the last week of the holidays for us, they're preparing work, classes, all the things that they're going to be teaching for like the new term. And one thing that, you know, because I think everyone thinks of school and it's just like, yeah, you go there, you sit down, you listen to what the teacher says, you write down stuff off the board, you take it in and that's it, you go home. But it's not, it's physically draining and it's emotionally draining. And unless you're a standard robot, because obviously they've got all this intelligent technology now, but unless you're a standard robot, there's no way that you can just go in that job, do what you got to do and go home and not take any of it with you, even if no matter how hard you try not to. It's just not, in my opinion, it's just not possible.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you. And I think you're right. We have to remember, and we don't at times, we have to remember they are humans. They do have emotion. They are going through the same mental health struggles that we are.
Yeah.
And everybody is. But I think everybody has to be aware of that. The kids have to be aware of that. The parents have to be aware of that. But the teachers have to be aware of that too. And they have to, and it's one of the things that we're looking to do more this year is for me and some of my colleagues to go into schools and work with the staff on how to deal with the current style of young person, as opposed to the post-COVID child, as opposed to the pre-COVID child. Because I feel quite strongly about that. And I think if we can show that support to the educators and the staff and give them that different outlook and different understanding of what we're dealing with now, and not teaching them to suck eggs, because I'm not saying I'm like and that, but it's just I'm exposed to it more because I'm dealing with the kids that are really being affected on the daily. And on a high number.
And I think for me, like, you can't, without nurturing a child, you can't educate them, because where is the space in their minds to take in what you're teaching when it's filled up with all the other stuff that's they're being, I'll put it to one side, or you're not there now, you're in school now, this is what you're going to focus on. But even as humans, we should all know that actually, if something is affecting you emotionally, how are you supposed to like do I can't think of the words I need, but how are you supposed to do anything like normally, so to speak? Because And even if you are a person who can do that for a certain amount of time, you do burn out in the end. And so why would we want that for our children? And like for me, I think even if schools are nurturing, I don't think that takes away any roles from you. I think there's always going to be children for you, whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. But like, you know, because I was who I was interviewing, I was talking to Sim. So he does his football academy, and
Mhm.
he gave an example of being still mentoring a child that was in a two-parent household. Because I think a lot, the other thing, when people think of mentors and they look at them like, oh, you know, you're for single parent families or blah. But I think as humans, we all offer different things on different scales, different abilities for different people. So just because someone has a two-parent household or a big family, it doesn't mean that any of those people are able to get through to the child in a way that is necessary. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. So let me package my understanding of what you've said there.
Yeah.
Is not everybody can be a mentor. But a mentor can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. I would
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, and it's one of my biggest things. I think you can go and do a psychology degree, you can go and do a sports psychology degree, you can go and do youth work degrees and stuff like that, and I think that's great, and I think that's fine, and I have no problems with that. You can do mentoring courses, there's 1,001 things you can do. The first thing you've got to do is be relatable and understand the young people. You've got to be able to listen to them, because too many times we want to put our opinion onto them as opposed to listening to why they're behaving in a certain way, acting in a certain way, anxious in a certain experience. But more so, and this is the dangerous one, and I listened to this on a seminar once about youth work and stuff, and I couldn't agree with it more, is lived experience.
Yeah.
So lived experience is great in one sense, but it does not mean you can mentor. What it means is you've had lived experience. The difference on that is, what would I have told myself in the years that I got this experience? Who would I have listened to? And how would I have changed the choices I made? That's what the lived experience needs to give.
Yeah.
Not, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I sold this. Yeah, I gangbanged. Yeah, do you know what? I know what you're going through. So what are you going to do? Like, what I want you to do, like, that's not what we're talking about here. And that's the difference. That's the difficulty. So many have lived experience and feel that gives them the authority to give the mentoring advice. No, it's that lived experience is great and it's essential. And don't get me wrong, that's what a lot of us have. But it's, what are you doing with that, and how are you advising, understanding, and guiding relative to the choices that you made, and what would have made the difference when you were making those choices.
Okay, that's good. So that highlights where he was coming from. So the dad was obviously being a good dad, but then Sim stepped in with advice in the way, and structured it in the way that you have said, and obviously that's where the difference was made. And obviously he has a different lived experience to the dad.
Exactly.
And so so mentors are relevant everywhere, regardless of who you are, where you're from, and yeah.
No, exactly that. And I think that once they care and they're prepared to understand and listen to the child, then they can be developed. But look, same with me. There's people that have come and worked for me and have gone because their focus wasn't the mentoring of the young people. Their focus wasn't, or the advice given wasn't the right advice, or the thought process wasn't the thought process that we needed. And do you know what I mean? So it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
the My Voice in Power show on Unity Live Radio with Natasha Brown.
So, I have observed you since I met you, and based on that, I've got to know that it's clear that you're a natural father to those around you, regardless of whether or not you're on work mode. Do you find that that brings any challenges to your actual father-child relationship?
Ooh. I mean, probably. I'd like to think my child might disagree, but I'd like to think I have a good relationship with my child. I'd like to think I do try and allocate specific time for me and her. I recognize my work demands. I recognize my volunteer demands. Within that environment, I still try and be a father at times, but I also then try and be coach if it's in the athletics environment, and try and balance the two hats. At the end of the day, my daughter means the world to me. Yeah. My daughter's my everything. Yeah. So if I maybe don't show it sometimes to her, I will have to express it in other ways. Yeah. Because I need her to know that. Yeah. It's I have this with my colleague as well, one of my best mates. When you do coach your child, it's difficult. It's different. You have situations where you're trying to be parent, but you're trying to be coach. You have situations where you want to give her the support, but you recognize you need to give somebody else the support. So there's a fine balance, and it is challenging. You're probably better to ask her whether she feels that she gets what she needs, yeah, as a child. But I'd like to think I'm quite fair. Yeah. I'd like to think if I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And if I can't do it, there's a valid reason which I can justify as to why I can't do it. Hopefully that kind of is seen by her.
So what would you say is the biggest struggle that mentoring brings?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
What would you say is the biggest struggle that mentoring brings?
The biggest struggle. There's probably a couple. The first one is the attachment to the young people. Mm-hmm. You get too emotionally involved. You're always thinking on how to help them. You never switch off. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is essentially when they finish, when they leave. What you find is a lot of the time, from a male perspective, a lot of the time we're the male role model within their life. Yeah. If it's the school that have allocated the service, when the school stops their funding, essentially that male role model in their life disappears. Yeah. Again, yeah. So one of the things I stress to every single kid that comes through our door is my door is never closed to them, okay, whether the school's paying for it or not. Yeah. But they just have to be able to come there. There's a certain kid that we're both aware of, I'm not going to say any names, that I worked with at the beginning of the year, worked with at the end of last year, the beginning of the year, goes through hell and back. But the difficulty was I had to go and collect that child every time for us to have a session. Yeah. I physically can't do that. I do not have time to do that. So my door will never be closed to that young person. That person can come any day they want. Yeah. They just got to be able to come. Yeah. I find that for me, I will open that door for these young people. It's down to them to come though. So if they want that support, if they want that like guidance, find your butt at my side. Yeah. And you'll do whatever you can to get there. And if you don't, you won't. Right. So my door has never been closed, whether I mentored you in 2007 to whether I mentored you today.
Yeah.
My door will never be closed to these young people. My environment will always be that safe place for them to come, get their emotions out, deal with what they need to deal with, have somebody on their side, and be a mentor for them. So I'll do this till the day I die and I can't anymore.
Yeah.
So and the whole aim of it is that through my team, we create more mentors. Through the young people we work with, we create mentors. We educate them on how to deliver what they needed and what they need then, so that this business continues long beyond I'm here.
Yeah.
And the little 6-year-old or 8-year-old that I'm mentoring now is running the business in 25 years,
Yeah.
because that's how the business works. So that's the plan for it. So yeah.
So, like, would you aim to be probably, like, say, bigger than you are? So there's more sites, more staff, and more of you, more.
And there's growth in the right way. I don't just want to employ more and more people and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, the biggest thing that I see and we try and do regularly with the staff is staff training and keep them on point, because work with the staff is to better the support we're giving, better the advice we're giving, better the strategies that we're giving, communicate that back to the schools in the right way. So that growth is constant within the staff.
Mm-hmm.
Then naturally, I mean, we've gone from probably 8 staff to 20 staff in this year alone.
Okay.
But going through that process is picking the right people, getting the right mentors for the right student, understanding that relationship, developing people. So one of my staff now was one of my students in 09, 010, 09, 10 and 2011 even, I think. So for him to come on this journey and him to want to give back, I think is beautiful. I think that's what we want. That's what we're striving for. So that's a constant evolution. What I would say is, I don't know about different sites. We've talked about that, and we're looking at like mastering this Reading site.
Yeah.
We're talking about satellite sites in maybe a West Berkshire area, because we're quite busy in West Berkshire now, in maybe a Winnersh Wokingham area, because we're quite busy in that. But I also don't want to water down the quality of what we do.
Of course, yeah.
So it's important that when we do that, or if we do that, we do it in the right way. So what I'm trying to do is maximize. Most of our usage is secondary just now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're overly suitable for certain primary, but primary in the past has been a big majority of our time.
Okay.
What I've found though is with primary this year, we've worked more on the premise of mentoring as opposed to daycare.
Okay.
And therefore I think we've had a positive relationship from our primary experience returning back to it. The aim would be to have a primary section within our site, which is head up and dealt with in a slightly different way. What we find a lot of the time is when the primary school kids are coming, they struggle to read, they struggle to write anyway.
Okay.
And therefore being out of the classroom is not the greatest thing. So we need to incorporate some of that into our delivery, and we have done in the past. There's also a potential that we're looking at expanding to the educational side. So we would support with a math, support with an English, and then support with a life skills. And a life skills, I mean things like relationships with your peers, relationships with adults, physical relationships, what they mean, what a positive relationship is, what a negative relationship is, how you interact with your parents, how do you interact with your social group, how you interact on social network, social media, banking, financing, how you get a mortgage, how you open a bank account. So real life skills that they can actually take and do something with. And that's no disrespect to what they learn in schools, but to me, some of that is pointless. Unless you're doing unless you've got a specific passion about a specific item. I'm sorry, I don't see how. I'm 50 this year, and my child can be learning, who's just finished GCSEs, the same history that I learned when I was 50.
Yeah.
Where's the relevance to that, and how does that help her? Unless she's going into the historical side of work, and that's her passion, but that ain't gonna help her in a job.
Exactly.
That, like, I'm sorry, Henry VIII ain't helping her a job.
Yeah.
So unless she's going to do English as a teacher or history as a teacher.
Of course, yeah.
So to me, there's what we want to bring in is a simpler maths, English, and then a life skills support. And that would be separate. That wouldn't be our business. That would be somebody that we bring in to run that side of the business. And then we can bespoke prepare that for the young person, because they might be able to cope with 20 minutes of maths. So if they're on our site for an hour, they can have 20 minutes of maths and then 40 minutes of physical work and emotional work. Yeah. And I think that kind of ticks a lot of boxes. So that's where we're looking to expand. And then long term, don't get me wrong, we've got one of my team runs his own site in Bristol. We'd happily go down the M4 corridor to support that and grow the business out to there. I've got quite a few contacts in London who are real positive guys doing some great community work. So the aim would be to go that way as well, because I know what we do would make a difference. I'm of the belief, and take this as you will, it might come across as arrogant. I don't care. But I'm of the belief that there's nobody that does what we do in this country. Yeah. I'm of the belief of that. To what we do, to the scale of what we do and how we package it, I don't believe there is. No. And therefore, not that I want to sell the product, because this isn't about, for me, this isn't about how much money you make. Because if it was, I'll tell you what, I'm losing on that one.
That, yeah.
But it's about making that difference. And I think we can make that difference throughout the country, and the different experiences. To me, the M4 corridor is the first point, but that's 5 years beyond away, at least.
Yeah. But it will be worth the wait. And like you said, no one else is doing it. Somebody needs to do it. More people need to do it. We definitely need more of this. I couldn't stress that enough. Have you ever had a mentor? Did you have one when you was growing up?
Nah. I mean, it was a different time. It was a different time. Like, not that I didn't need one, but no, when I was in Scotland, I had my mum. Yeah. My mum was like, set the boundaries of what her expectations were. My dad showed me how to work hard. My dad would leave the house at 7 a.m, come back at 7 p.m, and he was working. He would always find time for me to take me to any sports thing. If my mum wasn't able to take me, at the weekends was family time for him, and he gave us that time. But to be fair, my sister and I were always all over the country doing some sport. Oh, yeah. So he was the driver. So that was him. So all I saw was a loving, supportive family in my mother and father. Yeah. A mother that would do anything for me, anytime, anywhere, and a father that showed me what hard work was. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't agree with his hard work, because he just thinks you have to work hard all the time, and it doesn't matter whether you enjoy your job or anything, you just work hard. Okay. I'm not that of that. You need to enjoy what you do, I think. So hence I do what I want to do. But yeah, so I wouldn't say really. And then school, I mean, I had mates. I was a bit of a loner. I like to entertain myself. I mean, I was out playing sport most of the time. Yeah. Up until probably 15, got into a little bit of the group. I mean, we used to fight and all of that from young, but that was just playground fun. Do you know what I mean? Like in Scotland, it was different. Like fighting for us was a pastime. So we would do craziness like that. But when I got to 15, it was a little bit different. The dynamic was different. So you still didn't have the mentors and that. Your mentor was the older guy who kicked ass the other day, and you looked up to him, and he kicked ass, so I want to hang around with him and kick ass with him. And that was it. From an athletics perspective, There was nobody that mentored me when I came down here. No, not really. I'm trying to think, and there wasn't anybody like that. Like the biggest person that made effect on me was probably my history teacher, who when I used to kick off in his class all the time, used to call him racist all the time, used to throw my chairs at him all the time. And one day he goes, "Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. Like, I understand you're frustrated, but there's other ways of dealing with it." And he actually took time, listened to me. I just splurted out everything that was frustrating me, and he gave me that outlet. But he didn't really. He just gave me the outlet, and then I didn't kick off in his class again, and that was it. But I wouldn't say there was anybody that guided me on what to do. And look, if there was somebody out there and I've forgotten about you, my bad. But
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I've always been a loner. I've always done things by myself. Because you don't get anything without putting it in yourself.
Did it make a difference to you that it was a male who you were able to release your frustrations to, or do you think, like, yeah?
I don't know. Not really. Like I could talk to my parents, but again, I didn't want to talk to anybody. Like I didn't want to talk to anybody. There's probably things, I know that for a fact now. There's still things I ain't dealt with from my childhood.
Okay.
Like, my missus will tell me constantly, "You need to go and see a counselor." I'm an angry person now. I am an angry person.
Yeah.
Like, I have anger in me and I have a short fuse. The difference is I'm in so many environments where I can't show that anger and I can't show those frustrations. I just dampen it down. I dampen it down. So the only place I get angry is with the one person that I can, is my wife.
Yeah.
So she sees the crap side of me and everybody else gets a nice side, which she'd probably quote as well.
And that's,
yeah.
no, I was going to say that's interesting, because one of my next questions was going to be, how do you manage your own mental health when you're managing all of these other people, and now, like you said, things from your childhood that you haven't dealt with as well, plus life?
Yeah, I mean, my outlet is my work. My outlet is my work. I'm passionate about my work, so that's what gives me my escape. It used to be sport. I'll be honest with you. It used to be sport. I was able to manage it. I'd go on a football pitch, or I'd not get in a boxing ring. That's not true, but go in the gym. I do. So there was an outlet there. As I got lazier and older, and went more, the business needs the ugly side done as opposed to the nice side, I lost that outlet. I'd say the best way I get it is my wife and I going away on holidays.
Yeah.
I try and do them as regularly as I can. That's so, other to pay the bills and to make sure I can provide for her and my daughter, that's where my money goes. My money goes on food, because I love to eat and I should have shares in Deliveroo, and holidays.
Yeah.
That's my passion. So I love to go away. That is probably the sanest I get when I can go away. I mean, I still don't switch off. I'm still looking at work stuff, but my team are pretty good. They try and keep me away from that. But yeah, it's going away, and that's probably the only thing that keeps me sane. But yeah, like a lot of the time when you get home after a day of mentoring or a day of meetings and stuff like that, like everybody, you're tired. You don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And she's been working at home all day, so she wants to talk, and I feel for her. It's hard. It's hard being my partner. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's hard being my partner because I'm emotionally available for everybody except for her.
Wow.
And the one person I should be for is her. Half the battle to me is though I recognize.
I was about to say that at least you're aware, and you can't start to change anything without being aware of it first. So you're halfway there.
Yeah.
And
well, I'd say I'm about a quarter of the way. I don't know about half.
And you're owning up to it. I don't know many men who are as real and as open as you are. Like, and that is my honest opinion. Like, throughout my whole life, there are very, very, I can count on one hand good men that I've met. And you know, earlier I was saying that I've observed you, and the reason why I chose the word observed is because I did observe you, because I'm like, who is this guy being so nice, working with all these people? Like, it's, to me, that's not normal. Based on my own experiences, that's not normal behavior. which is then where the observation came in. So, you know, bringing my son down to the track, observing you from there. And that's why I said, in the end, the only conclusion I have is that you are a natural guider, a natural father, and it just splurges out of you without you even thinking about it.
I
And
appreciate that. I mean, that's nice. That's nice to hear. Thank you. I'm also a natural. I'll be real with you.
but it's beautiful to see, like,
Yeah.
and you're taking ownership of. You said, oh, you know, well, no swearing, but you know, you
Sorry.
sorry, you're taking ownership of that as well. And so many people just don't even do that.
Yeah, no, and I hear that. And look, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate what you're saying. I don't think I'm special. I don't think I've got something that other people don't. I know what I'm passionate about. And if I'm passionate about something, it gets my all. I'll give everything. And my work and my coaching, I'm passionate about. My family, I'm passionate about. The problem that they get is they get filtered me because of my work and my coaching.
Do you think male role models are important? Sorry if I've cut you off.
Yeah, no. I think all role models are important. I think it depends on the situation, but I think there's a lot of lack of male role models for our young people today, and maybe the role models that they are using maybe aren't the best, because of the social society that we live in. I think it's difficult. I think we live at a difficult time. We live at a time where your worth is dictated by your likes. And that's difficult. So therefore, if you've got a lot of likes, or somebody that you look up to has got a lot of likes, that means that they're worth looking up to. Whereas actually, their morals might not be. I mean, but it's also what media perceives as morally correct and not. And again, we live in a society and a time where that's dictated just by the agenda. You've got the perfect example of, and I can't remember the two footballers' names, but they were both Man City footballers, I believe. Both of them bought a house for their mum. And I remember the white footballer's name was Phil Foden. I can't remember the black footballer's name, which is really bad. But the headline around both of them was, one was such a lovely child, buying his house for his mom and looking after his mom and everything like that, and like praised all over the newspaper. The other one was, look at this kid flashing his cash, showing off to everybody that he's got loads of money. It was the same thing. They both did the same thing, but you know which color was which. And as sad as that is to say, that's also what our young people are exposed to. So that's also their influence of a role model. So the agenda against certain people as a role model can be totally different. You look at a Paul Pogba, the footballer, he gets absolutely slaughtered for the time that he's changing his hair and he's doing this and he's doing that. And like the work that guy does behind the scenes on helping young people, on helping his community back home, things like that. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about the fact that he's on TikTok with his hair color changed. And so again, people aren't looking at him as a role model. They'll look at somebody else who actually might not be a positive influence, but because he fits the stereotype, he's now the role model. So I think being gender specific role models are important. Having role models within your image are important. And I think the more that we can get of that, 100% will make a difference.
And a better outlook as well. It's legitimate money they're using to do something good. It should be being celebrated so that more children want to go into legitimate business, to earn money the right way, to do and it would be better for the society. I don't ever understand why people don't see how it's better to provide positive aspects of everything for everybody, so that the whole world in general in itself just becomes better anyway.
Controversial statement, but there's obvious reasons why that's not the case.
Yeah.
Top needs to be the top, bottom needs to be the bottom, and long may it last, in their opinion.
And that's true. And even if you want to have it that way, still provide a better platform so that the people that you want to control are a little bit more willing to kind of do what you want. Even their own logic doesn't make sense for what they're trying to get out of what they're doing, if that makes sense.
No, but power just wants to be powerful.
Yeah.
So power will be powerful whichever way that power wants to be powerful. And it does not want to give an outlet for the unpowerful. It wants the unpowerful to follow what it dictates. And I'll be real with you. People can tell me, oh, it's 2022, and that will never change, because it is instilled from day dot. It's instilled from our holy books. It's instilled from every walk of life. This is part of the human race. One sits on the top, one sits on the bottom, and it will forever be. So our aim is to do the best that we can and keep making people strive to get to the top, whatever their version of top is. But look, the one guy that I do rate highly, who's no longer with us, Bob Marley, said about rich, when they were asking him about being rich, and he said, richness is my life. Like, rich, they said, oh, do you have a lot of money? Does that make you rich? Do you have a lot of money? And he goes, money don't make me rich. It's what I do with my life. It's how I live. It's like my goodness, that's what makes me rich. My family, that's what makes me rich, not money. And that's what I'd say that you strive for. Money pays the bills, don't get me wrong, but you got to strive for that happiness. And when I'm working with these young people, when I'm working with my staff, I'm like, look, I'm going to make this environment as comfortable and as happy for you as I can. Yeah, so worst thing is I can't remember the quote properly. It's a great quote, but it's just about the richness in life. And that's what I try to teach the people, and that's what I try to create in that environment. I want an environment where my staff don't think they're coming to work. My staff think that they're coming to a place that they like to hang out.
Yeah.
And whilst doing that, they help the young people. And whilst doing that, they give good strategies and they make a difference in people's lives. In nowhere does it say that work has to be stressful, horrible, mean, like create anxiety. No, at all. And I'm for that. So I will always strive to have that feeling about my work environment, which then comes back down to how do we view life and how do we see life.
Lovely. So can people self-refer, or do you only take referrals through schools?
No, anybody can self-refer. They just need to just go to the website, romentoring.co.uk, I believe it is. Yeah, there's a form on there. They send that in, and then I'll email them back with the form. We're in the process of trying to make it all so that they can do it directly from the site. But yeah, just reach out to us. Anybody can come. Anybody can be referred, and just let us know your situation. Let us know your situation. What I don't want people to do is be controlled by the finances of life. Come and give me the story, and if I can help, I'll help. If I can get support, I'll get support. So there's always an opportunity. And for the young people that, like, we're there to support. So even that young person, get them to find their butt down our site, on their own 2 feet, and then they'll get supported.
Is there an age that you stop at?
Not really. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that it was always, my door's always open, and it will be until the day I die. Educationally, 16. However, I will work with anybody that needs mentoring. And if a 25-year-old man needs mentoring, I mentor some of my own staff. I will mentor them. Because it never stops. It never stops. I have colleagues that I go to when I need to voice my concerns, voice my frustrations. I have my 2 best mates for getting my frustrations out. I have a business colleague in Rick Moylan, who's in Manchester, who, if I want to talk business as a friend as well, just to talk friendship stuff, but if I need to voice, he's an ear. So I think mentoring can be throughout your years at any stage. So from my perspective, it never stops. Never stops. If you need me, I'm there.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
No worries. Bless you. Thank you very much.
Are you a rich man?
When you mean rich, what you mean?
Do you have a lot of possessions? A lot of money in the bank?
Position make you rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life, forever.
If you would like your voice to be heard on the Your Voice in Power Hour, then why not get in touch with me at myvoiceinpower@outlook.com.